Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 173 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is one of those fish that I've always seen in public aquariums but haven't really looked into it too much, and a lot of these things actually surprised me. Really surprised me actually. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is bam! The jointed razorfish. Now, the jointed razorfish, or scientific name Aeoliscus strigatus. Again, that's Aeoliscus strigatus. It is a part of the family Centriscidae, which is the family of shrimp fish. Now, I say that, but that family seems to be under a lot of flux. So a lot of the fish in this family that used to be in this family have been since moved. It does seem to be very consistent that shrimp fish, which the razorfish is part of, is staying in that family. Some of these other things seem to keep them in the family. Some other people are saying it's right around 2016 is when it was first proposed, which scientists are really slow about moving from families, so it's going to take some time. So that entire family is a little bit under flux right now, but regardless, razorfish, Centriscidae. Now, the jointed razorfish is found in the Indo-Pacific Ocean, and they have a very wide distribution. Pretty much all of the Indian Ocean and all of the Western Pacific Ocean seems to be where they're found. Australia, almost, I feel like I saw some records up near Russia, almost, definitely off the coast of Japan. But on the eastern side of the ocean Pacific, they really seem to stay around Central America to South America. But regardless, this fish has a very wide distribution. You're gonna find these fish in very shallow coastal waters, very much associated with seagrass and coral reefs. These are not deep fish. I'm thinking, couldn't really find anything on depths, but you're really gonna find these probably around that 5-meter range, which is about 15 feet. That would be my estimation on where you would find these, just based on sort of the life history of this fish that I found. But these are not really that open water pelagic. These are very heavily associated with seagrasses and very heavily associated with coral reefs. Now, this is a small fish. If you've seen this fish before, you realize that. They stay around 12 to 15 centimeters, which is about 4.5 to 6 inches long. And they are very thin, hence the name razorfish. Some people joke about them being two-dimensional, and they are extremely thin, extremely elongated, and there's no thickness to their body whatsoever. It's just this flat razor blade almost. That's where it gets its name, obviously. But it's got this very elongated body shape with this elongated snout that creates this sort of beak-like situation. A lot of people said beak. I attribute it more to like a pipe, because the mouth is actually only at the end here. This entire thing does not open. They're very much like biting using this very tip. So it's more of like a pipe in my mind. And that should be pretty important later on. Anyway, but they do have these very small fins. You can see right here, they're very, very transparent. Very transparent. You can actually see a fin right in here. There's a better picture here. You can kind of see the fin catching the flash of the photography here. But they're still very transparent fins. Silverish body most of the time, but that actually seems to depend on where they live. In seagrass, they'll have this more yellowish or green color, like these found here. These are very, sort of green. I'm assuming these are. By the way, if I am mis-IDing these, I don't think I am, but if I am mis-IDing these, please correct me. But there'll be this green versus when they're around corals, they'll have this very silvery color here. And a lot of times when you're seeing these in public aquariums, you're going to see silver because they're traditionally in coral aquariums. So they'll kind of stay this silvery color. Regardless, they do have this dark band traveling up the body, and that band actually goes through the eye. It's very easy to see the band here, but in this picture you can actually see that band traveling through the eye. So the eye itself has a band. Same here, you can see the band on the eye right there. That's pretty indicative of razorfish. Now, something else that is really interesting is it actually has this dorsal spine right here. And that dorsal spine is actually created from bony plates. So bony plates, if you remember, we've done a couple of Fish Fridays on these, and we've definitely talked about this. The order Sygnathiformes, which has the family Sygnathidae, which is the family of seahorse and pipefish. This fish is actually very closely related to seahorses and pipefish, and when you look at them, you can kind of believe that if you know what a pipefish is, you can be like, oh, that's a pipefish. Make no mistake there. But something that always catches people's eye, especially in aquariums, is their orientation. These fish actually swim with their head down, not head up. They're always looking at the ground. That's actually an adaptation. When they move, they're actually usually moving vertically. Now they will swim horizontally, but they traditionally kind of float with the water in and out of those seagrass beds, and that's really what their camouflage is. They're using this stripe to kind of mimic the shadow of a seagrass bed. So they're very, very much a camouflage dependent species, hiding in the coral shadows and the seagrass shadows. But that was, that I always knew that they oriented themselves very vertically, not your sort of traditional fish movement, which seems bizarre. I mean, imagine spending your entire life upside down. It's really weird. But something interesting to note that I discovered while doing this, originally when I was doing my research, I just did razorfish, but I'm actually talking about the jointed razorfish. And the reason why I'm talking about the jointed razorfish, apparently one of the diagnostic characteristics is those bony plates that extend and create this dorsal spine pointing towards the back of the tail actually is bent a lot of times. It has a joint in there. And you can see here, it has a joint. This one even has a joint, but it's not bent. I don't know if they can control that spine. I'm kind of assuming that there's some sort of muscular control, but you can see here, this one's very bent. This one's slightly bent. This one's straight. So I'm assuming there's some sort of muscular control, but that's actually how you differentiate this from sort of other razorfish, in that it actually has that visible joint and is sometimes physically crooked. That was really, really interesting to me. Now, in terms of what they eat, they're mainly going to eat small crustaceans, mainly small brine shrimp, things like that. These things are not really going after fish. They're just kind of poking and sucking up little small crustaceans. Now, they're not really commercially fished. There's not a lot of meat. There's no real reason to commercial. I was going to put that they're not found in domestic aquarium trades, but I actually found a couple of websites that do sell a razorfish for an aquarium, $45. They're probably not the worst fish, but you have to be very knowledgeable about what they're eating so that you constantly get them their food, those small brine shrimp and stuff. So probably a little more for the experience, and I'm not even going to say a little more experience. I imagine these fish have to be in an experienced aquarist's hands to survive, mainly because of their food. Now, they are extremely popular in public aquariums. This is one of the fish that I swear, anytime you go to a public aquarium or a zoo aquarium or a large aquarium, there's going to be a tank somewhere that usually has some razorfish. Obviously, it's a neat fish, and they're really cool how they orient, how they move around. I'm not denying that, so they're actually fairly popular, and that's where I've seen pretty much all of them. Now, in terms of they're endangered, not endangered, threatened, IUCN has not really evaluated them, but judging by how many I see and their extremely wide distribution, I have to imagine these are fine. Obviously, any fish that are closely associated with seagrass beds are going to have some issues. Seagrass beds in the ocean are actually one of the more endangered ecosystems, so there's probably some drawback from that, but since they do also have coral reefs, they're probably doing okay. I could not find anything saying that razorfish, any of the razorfish species, seem to be in real trouble. Now, their reproduction, there wasn't a lot on reproduction, but essentially they have very small buoyant eggs that can attach to grasses and other debris. So they float around and they stick to something, and then they become a larva. Then they float around a little bit more, find somewhere, and then they become a young adult. Not a whole lot going on about the reproduction. But for the interesting fact I'm going to end the video on, and something I had no knowledge of, apparently the jointed razorfish has one of the reasons why it orients in that head down deal is these fish actually are specially adapted for hiding among sea urchin spines. So in these seagrass beds and things like that, they'll actually be very closely associated with sea urchins, both as a defense and as a hunting mechanism. When they're threatened, they'll actually dart into a nearby sea urchin to sort of protect themselves. And it is a bit of a symbiotic relationship, because the razorfish will actually stay with that sea urchin and kind of hit the small invertebrates that are actually being parasitic on the sea urchins that the sea urchin cannot get rid of. So it's actually kind of cleaning the sea urchin in its way. So it's really bizarre. A really unique sort of symbiotic relationship. The sea urchin protects the razorfish, and the razorfish actually gets to not only get some protection, but also kind of get some free meals from the parasites on them. I even found that apparently they really closely associate with the genus of sea urchins called Diadema, which I should have found a picture of, but I didn't, so sorry. But that was a really neat thing, and it's not something that I'd really thought of, that sea urchins actually have a symbiotic relationship with really anything. So it was really neat to just learn a complete new and interesting fact for me. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If you'd like to support the channel, please click the link down below. It is by no means expected, but very much appreciated. Regardless, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and peace.